So what's in store for us today? Well, Thomas is here, but will he really be the story's focus this time? Nope. Guess who? That's right, Mr. Gordon, and boy was he looking awfully filthy. After traveling through the island, the weather had gotten rather windy, which ended up smudging all of Gordon's livery with mud. It just wasn't his day to be blue, I guess. When arriving to Tidmouth Sheds, Thomas couldn't help but bring up Gordon's eyesore.
"Hello, Gordon," called Thomas. "You look as if you've had a mud bath. Be a sensible engine and have a shower instead." Gordon snorted. "I haven't time to dawdle over my appearance like fussy tank engines do."
Funny, that actually would seem like something Gordon would be more concerned about. After all, he is a big tenderhead, and the big engines always gotta look splendid, according to him. While heading to the washdowns, Gordon's driver told him to move slower so not as much mud caked up on his frame. But this didn't matter to him as much as the sign at the washdowns, which said all trains must wash down daily. It doesn't make sense, though. Gordon and James are similar in behavior, and yet Gordon didn't care about being clean, when in fact he should have been more like James, who would do anything to have a gleaming coat.
"Come on, Gordon," said his driver. "You'll feel better, too, after a good hose down." "Bah!" said Gordon, and angrily let off steam. "You're a very naughty engine," said Gordon's driver.
Indeed. That was way out of line. As conceited as James can be, he did not deserve that at all. So with that, Gordon had to get ready to take his next train without being clean. But with Top Hat being a witness to his grungy appearance, the big man was not having him do that job at all. For once, Gordon was being forced to get washed up as much as he didn't care. Which still doesn't make sense. I would think if Gordon was this dirty, he wouldn't leave his shed until he was decent looking enough to be seen. But here, he just wants to do the work no matter how much of a hot mess he looked like. Thus, cue the Grumpy Gordon theme.
Gordon was soon being washed. "Mind my eyes," he grumbled.
Jeez, I feel bad for the washers. They're just trying to help. Meanwhile, you get this giant gray face blasting you to watch his eyes. If I was that guy on the ladder, I would have fallen off with Carlin's booming vocals. After Gordon was taken care of, he then was told to move some trucks around at the Sodor Shipping Company, which in all honesty feels backwards too. Why clean him up only to have him move dirty freight around? No one's going to see him there. It's when he's taking the express an engine should get cleaned up. Why is everyone thinking so cockeyed right now?
James got ready to take the express when Gordon returned. "Be careful," warned Gordon. "The hills are slippery. You may need help." "I don't need help on hills," replied James huffily.
Being that Gordon was incidentally annoying him before at the washdowns, I can see why James didn't feel like taking advice from Gordon. Then again, that was most likely James just being stubborn too. Little did James realize that although Gordon was a frump earlier, his advice was factual. Earlier in the day, the windy weather had thrown leaves onto Gordon's hill, making the conditions wonderful for no rail traction. But James, feeling that this wasn't his first time taking the express, nor going up Gordon's hill, felt like this wouldn't be any different of a day.
And James began to go faster. I'll do it, he puffed. Halfway up, he was not so sure.
Nothing wrong with thinking proactively, James, but there are also times when being realistic is more reliable. And with that, James learned the hard way. Gradually, James lost his momentum and started rolling backwards as much as his wheels turned the other way. I'm sure at this moment, James knew he should have listened to Gordon. Making the situation even more embarrassing was when he finally stopped at the bottom.
Then carefully he stopped the train. Gordon saw everything. "Ah, well, we live and learn. Never mind, little James. I'm going to push behind."
Isn't that thoughtful? It's also shockingly kind of Gordon. He didn't even seize the moment to rub it in James's face. Adding to that, he acted as a back engine to James, something the same Gordon from Edward and Gordon from Season 1 would never accept. At least I think. Either way, though, Gordon helped James up the hill and happily said goodbye once the assist was no longer needed. Oddly enough, after all that, Gordon was muddy again. I can't believe him being out in the countryside is what got him crappy looking. I would think the Sodor Shipping Company would be the place to get covered in soot, but we didn't see that happen. No.
Sir Topham Hatt came to see the engines. Gordon was miserable. "Please, sir," said Thomas, "can Gordon pull coaches again now?" If you understand that having a washdown is essential to every engine, then yes, Gordon, you may. Thank you, grunted Gordon. Dirty or clean, I'm a famous machine. But no one heard but him.
Ha, that was a comical ending. What I'd like to know more about, though, is what's up with James's face? He looks like an old man. Look at the wrinkles and bags under his eyes. Did he, age 70 years after pulling the Express? That's such an odd face mask to use for the end of this entry. Whatever. This was definitely a story worth talking about. It certainly has character continuity problems because several times throughout the story, Gordon behaves in ways that feels opposite to how he would normally act. Am I wrong in thinking Gordon would be more apt to get clean first before doing anything else? That's how I remember him to be. But also the abrupt switch in moods was strange too. Half the episode he's upset and downright hard to work with. Then, after being cleaned, he turns over a new leaf and has no problem not only giving useful advice to James, but then has no issue helping out when James needs it after ignoring his travel tip. Gordon was really in a funk for this story. Nevertheless, Gordon's change in attitude was an appreciated one. Gordon is rarely seen as being a mentor-like figure to smaller engines. Most of the time, he's just bragging about himself, so seeing that distinct change is a welcoming one. For music, no new tunes were heard, but were nice to hear anyway. Gordon's theme is heard at the start, and then his grumpy cue halfway through. Finally, when the focus shifts more on James, we hear his Season 3 theme rendition, which is very similar to previous versions. And it works. The best part, though, was when James came all the way back down Gordon's Hill, and the wah, wah, wah sound is heard. For locations, this episode utilized a lot of places. Briefly, Wellsworth Station and Henry's Forest are shown. The new area shown was the washdown sidings. It's not a bad set, but it's nothing that really stands out either. The parts that were more nostalgic to see were the Sodor Shipping Company, located in Knapford Yards, Tidmouth Sheds, and of course, best of all, Gordon's Hill. It's been a while since we've seen that glorious incline. I still love it. Next episode is No Joke for James. Thanks for watching.